many people here have heard of shoguns before? Shoguns were very similar to governors today in the United States, but they, rather than gaining their power through politics and talking and debating, they gained their power by being the most skilled warrior in their area, and and it also involved a lot of talking because they had to convince other samurais to support them in their fight to be in charge. Today I'm going to talk about how the shoguns rose to power, how they ruled when they were in power, and then what caused their downfall. So first, the rise of the shoguns' power. Shoguns came from the establishment of samurais, which were a necessity because in Japan there was a lot of civil war going on, and the samurais were the warriors who fought in wars, and when the wars calmed down to some extent, the samurais would rise to power and they took control of the region. And as you can see here, it's all divided into different sections. All these little areas, each had their own shogun in charge of it. The shoguns were very power hungry, and they wanted to take control so that they could reap benefits, basically. They wanted to have peasants that would provide them their food and pay them, basically. So once they were in power, they controlled entire regions, like I saw on the map on the last screen. And they had their own samurai armies who would fight in the wars between the shoguns, and also the samurais would go around and collect the tributes to the shogun from all the peasants in their region. Shoguns had to be skilled in battle as well as politics. Being the strongest warrior was what allowed them to gain their position, but to keep it, they had to keep everyone satisfied and make sure there wasn't a lot of dissent among their people, because otherwise they could be overthrown if there were enough people going against them. According to traditions and encounters, a global perspective on the past, shoguns ran their societies essentially like feudal societies in Europe, where they were like the lord at the top, and they had their unders, their like sort of dukes, I guess, would be a good way to compare it. And the dukes would be in charge of smaller areas, and they would collect from the peasants directly, and then the dukes would tribute from that to the shogun. Shoguns ran into their downfall when they decided to become too power hungry, and a couple of shogun families in particular decided they wanted to take control of more of the area. As you can see on this map, most of it's green, all under the same leader. And the unification of Japan put them in more power for briefly, but it eliminated their competition, so there was no one to go against them. But to unify Japan, they had to work with the emperor, who for the last 700 years or so, had been basically a figurehead and had no purpose. He had no power in the country, really. The shoguns had all the power over their regions. And it increased the emperor's power, and according to History.com, it led to the emperor being restored into power in the Meiji Restoration, and that led to the shoguns essentially being ousted from their positions and becoming less or becoming extinct essentially. So all in all, the shoguns held power for a large portion of Japanese history from about 1150 all the way until 1850. So about 700 years, and they rose to power through being the most skilled warriors. They used their power to essentially be dictators of their regions and to control everything that they could. And the power hunger and the greediness led them to their downfall, since they unified Japan under one leader, and then the emperor took over or took the power from them. So that's it. Thank you.